Welcome back to InsideFlix. It's that time again for our weekly box office report. This is where we delve into the specifics of the last weekend's box office figures. So let's jump right in. Rich, could you please share with us the top 5 movies this past weekend?
Well, this past Father's Day weekend did not turn out well for anybody, really. The Flash is number 1 with $55.7 million. Number 2 is Elemental with $29.6 million. Number 3 is Spiderman Across the Spider-Verse with $27.2 million. Number 4 is Transformers Rise of the Beast with $20.7 million. And round out the top 5 is The Little Mermaid with $11 million.
All right, we got to talk about the shocker of this past weekend. That horrible number that we're getting for Elemental.
No.
We got 2 big wide releases movies this past weekend and 2 big disappointments. Should we start with The Flash? Let's talk about The Flash.
That's the big one.
Why did this movie disappoint so much?
I have no idea. I guess there's a bunch of reasons why, but I just thought going into the weekend that this was going to be a massive opening. I thought it was going to, pretty much what the movie made worldwide. I thought that was going to be the domestic opening, and I don't know. I think it has to be, probably, Ezra Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Probably also, the fact that James Gunn is like rebooting the DC universe. All the news of that probably doesn't help, and I think a lot of people are officially just kind of burnt out on DC movies, and it's kind of like in this Transformers situation, right? Where Transformers used to be like this, very successful franchise, and now look at Rise of the Beasts having a 66.1% drop. I mean,
yeah, they both fall in the category of been there, done that. But this is a huge fatigue for The Flash. I mean, we heard that it was going to be an estimate of like 75, I believe it was, like during the week. From what I'm hearing, The Flash is still a good movie, and we saw it, and I was even floored that it was even better than I thought it was going to be. So,
well, it's a highly entertaining movie, and it's I would say it's like the perfect popcorn movie for the summer, and it is the summer. But it seems like people don't really care about it, and I think a lot of it had to do with a lot of different things. Let's start with like Ezra Miller's controversial scandals that had happened. I think it plays a part in the box office disappointment,
but very small.
But I think it's not in the way that many people assume. In reality, I think people are not really aware of what Ezra did in the past, because I think Ezra Miller is not necessarily a big star or a big name. But that being said, I think it didn't help, and it wasn't very beneficial because Ezra had to be missing from the promotional of this movie. And so it really forced WB and DC to take action and really come up with different promotional strategies, which didn't really help. I mean, I think pushing this movie back to this year, because initially it was supposed to come out last year, was a big mistake, but hindsight is 2020. We also got to talk about the fan base. I think that we got a fractured fan base in DC. I think that didn't help with the promotion of this movie, because especially when you can't promote a movie because the star is going through scandal, you have to rely on the fan base to kind of generate some buzz or create some awareness. And because of that fracture, it wasn't really there. I think also you got to take in the fact that WB really dropped the ball of really showcasing the return of Michael Keaton.
Yes.
I never felt like there was an excitement for the return of Michael Keaton leading up to the release of this movie.
I think since the movie opened, it's been having a bit of, bad word of mouth.
Yeah.
During all the initial screenings, like the version of the movie they showed at CinemaCon and at all the fan events and stuff, basically all leading up to the week of release, everybody saw an altered version of the movie that didn't show a cameo at the end of the film. And I've seen a lot of people online, or not everyone, but a lot of people are saying that they really like the movie a lot until the final scene, because the final scene feels like, kind of like an insult to the fans, right? And I kind of understand why, because I kind of had the same reaction to the movie. And the truth is, the movie does kind of end with a kind of a joke ending. I don't think it's supposed to be taken so kind of like literal, and this is kind of a poor way to end it.
Well, it's not ending yet. It's still got Aquaman to go.
That's true.
Let me ask you this about The Flash, and maybe it's possible reasons of why it didn't do well. A lot of the references in the movie is skewed to an older audience, and I'm not just talking about Michael Keaton as the older Batman. Do you think people just did not get like some of the references, and people just think the movie was okay because they did not get the inside jokes that featured in the movie?
I do think that has an effect on the movie because I've seen this movie a few times already, and when I saw it during like the early screenings and stuff, the reaction was always very, very positive. But that's all kind of like movie fans, especially, you know, there was definitely a lot of, you know, Michael Keaton Batman fans, and definitely people that grew up with that movie, and even people that watched it, you know, when it opened. So everyone got those jokes. But when I saw the movie on, you know, opening night, you know, on Thursday with a lot more kind of just average moviegoers and stuff, there were a lot less laughs. And especially there's a sequence in this movie that feels like kind of taken right out of something like Hot Tub Time Machine. And that whole sequence got like no laughs in the opening night audience, unlike, you know, the fan events that I went to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are coming out of it saying it's just an okay movie. You know, personally, because I am a fan of Michael Keaton as Batman, and I really loved how this movie kind of rekindled my appreciation for his work as Batman.
Mine never went away.
But I mean, I love the references, the callbacks, and all that stuff. But would it have been better if, let's say, if they would have gotten Christian Bale as Batman in this movie? Would that have worked?
I think so, but there's no way that he would have done it in Justice League.
Well, one more thing before we move on, because I think this also plays in part of why the movie kind of failed. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's almost the same type of movie. We're dealing with multiverse concepts. We're dealing with characters from other dimensions. We're dealing with a young kid dealing with emotional issues and stuff. Did people just go to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and say, yeah, I really love this movie? And they go, why do I need to go to see The Flash when it's really kind of the same thing? I'll skip that, or I'll just wait until it hits VOD or HBO Max or whatever.
It's possible, but it's just so sad that kind of Warner Brothers and DC always finds themselves in this situation. Because, I mean, they've been developing this movie for so long. They've been trying to make this Flashpoint movie for like what feels like a decade. And it's like they still get beaten, you know what I mean? like multiple times by Marvel. Marvel's doing a whole multiverse saga, and unfortunately it hasn't really been working, besides, you know, Spider-Verse. For the most part, it hasn't been working for Marvel, and that's another thing that probably hurt this, you know?
We got to talk about the other big box office disappointment. It's Pixar's Elemental, which opened at number 2, and it's I think it's the lowest Pixar opening ever. What does it say about the future of Pixar? And if you are like those guys who got fired from Lightyear, you gotta be pissed off, because you gotta be saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't fire us. You should have fired the guys behind the Elemental, because at least Lightyear did a little bit better than this.
Well, the sad thing about Elemental is that I'm seeing like online that the audience reaction for the movie is actually very positive. The people that have been watching the movie seem to really be enjoying it. I think what's been hurting it is that Elemental looks super lame. You know what I mean?
It's the look itself,
yeah. The movie has been horribly marketed, and it even the whole pitch of it was kind of like it's Pixar's first like romantic comedy. That's not cool.
Yeah.
You know what is cool though? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, it's definitely.
And I think
cool.
that has been taking the kind of family audience away from Elemental, I think. And also, while it's definitely a box office failure, I think also Flash hurt it a bit as well. And even Transformers and all these other movies, Little Mermaid, you know, there's a lot of movies marketed towards families right now. And Elemental Pixar's, you know, lamest effort.
Let's talk about the rest of the top 10. Rich, go ahead and give us the list.
Coming in number 6 is The Blackening. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 8 is The Boogeyman. Number 9 is Fast X. And round out the top 10 is Asteroid City.
I thought The Blackening was definitely going to open much bigger than this, but I also thought it was going to open to like double the theaters that it was actually, you know, playing in. So I mean, I think considering the theater count, it actually did pretty decent, pretty well enough. Yeah, I mean, not a great number. I mean, not a great start.
Yeah.
Guardians, though, still hanging in there very well, but we'll see.
Let's move forward and let's look ahead at this coming up week. Rich, tell us what movies are coming out in wide release in theaters.
Opening up in wide this weekend is No Hard Feelings. This is the new R-rated outrageous comedy in which Jennifer Lawrence stars as a cash-strapped slacker who accepts an unusual job dating a 19-year-old nerdy introvert and teaching him the art of carefree living, only to discover that breaking through his shell is no easy feat. Also expanding into wide release this weekend is Wes Anderson's Asteroid City and A24's Past Lives.
So really the only big wide release this week, it's No Hard Feelings. It's a rated R comedy, so I'm not expecting that much. I think it's projected to hit somewhere between 10 million to 20 million. So here's the silver lining for The Flash is that The Flash might end up being number one again for a second week. What's your thoughts on No Hard Feelings?
It does seem like people are really, at least online, people online seem to really be enjoying the trailers for this movie and the marketing for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the movie looks funny, and I also have been kind of burnt out on Jennifer Lawrence. Like, she's a great actress, but
this is like her first movie in a long time. I mean,
yeah, it is, and it's also from the directors of Good Boys, and you know, I'm not a fan of this team, this comedy team that's making this movie. So I don't have a lot of faith in this thing. But at the same time, audiences seem to always really like really bad comedies, and they tend to do really well at the box office. So
we kind of talked about this about the state of comedy in film. They seem to be kind of stuck in early 2000s, maybe early 2010s. They kind of still stuck in that Judd Apatow type of comedy, where if you're watching comedy on TV, they're doing a lot more innovative stuff.
Creative.
I mean, creative stuff. They're doing something. We talked about Barry. We talked about how much we love Dave. There's just stuff. People saying Succession was a comedy. Sure, okay, it's a really dark satire, but there are like really kind of great creative things that's happening on the small screen. But when it comes to the big screen, they're kind of really stuck in the old ages. They're not really improving, or they're not really taking risks.
I would take it a step further. I don't even think that No Hard Feelings looks like a Judd Apatow movie. I think it looks more like the type of teen sex comedy that I got when I was a little kid, like in the early 2000s. I get vibes from that DJ Qualls Eddie Griffin movie, The New Guy. Where like DJ Qualls learns how to be a cool guy from Eddie Griffin in jail.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get from this movie. And based off the director's previous work, that's kind of what you should expect from this movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is just garbage. But garbage comedies tend to do well at the box office. So
all right, let's talk about limited release. Rich, come on. Give us what movies are coming out in limited release.
Coming out on limited release is God is a Bullet. This is the new gritty revenge thriller that stars Game of Thrones star Nikolaj Coster-Waldau as an ex-detective seeking revenge on a punk satanic cult that has kidnapped his daughter. He is aided by a runaway street girl played by It Follows star Micah Monroe. Jamie Foxx also co-stars. Also coming out on limited release is Maximum Truth. This is the new political mockumentary starring comedian Ike Barinholtz as a conniving political operative who goes to great lengths to tear down a rival congressional candidate. And finally coming out on limited release is Sheroes. This is the new Vacation Gone Wrong thriller in which Sasha Luss, Wallace Day, Isabel Fuhrman, and Sky Jackson star as four best friends on a party-filled adventure in Thailand who unexpectedly face a deadly drug lord that challenges their skills in a fight for survival.
Most of the movies that you said are mostly going to be coming out in VOD, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of VOD, let's talk about streaming. What can people find on streaming, Rich?
Coming out on streaming is The Perfect Find, which you'll find on Netflix. This is the new rom-com that stars Gabrielle Union as a fashion editor who accidentally falls in love with her boss's son. Also streaming on Disney Plus is World's Best. This is a new family-friendly comedy about a kid math genius who decides to pursue his late father's dream of becoming a rapper. And finally coming out on streaming is Evil Dead Rise. This is the latest chapter in Sam Raimi's horror franchise. It makes its streaming debut this week on HBO Max, also known as Max.
Yeah, so Evil Dead Rise, I was not that big of a fan of it, but it is very gruesome and very bloody. And I think it will work very well for people who want to watch something disgusting this weekend. And like you said, Rich, it'll be available on Max.
It was first intended for HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. All right, that's it. That's it for now. Thank you for listening to InsideFlix. We'll be back next week. We'll see how well
The Flash does second week.
We'll see how well The Flash does for its second week. Also see if No Hard Feelings can take the top spot. Yeah. So we'll be back next week and we'll talk about the new movies coming out that week. So bye-bye, everyone.